let's talk about alphabetic filing for correspondence. It's on pages 28 through 37. Before we talk about it, let's consider where we are in terms of the practice in the textbook. So we work for a company named Online Printing Services. And we have a president whose name is Melinda L. Adams. And we have her initial as MLA, as in M for Melinda, A, and A for Adams. And we also have a vice president whose name is Edward J. Cortez. So we have initial for him, EJC. When you study the concepts of filing with the correspondence, it will be very helpful for you if you read the contents of the correspondence to understand why and how certain correspondence are filed in certain way and not the other way around. If you do not know the content of a communication or the correspondence, it will be very hard for you to understand and follow. So I strongly recommend you to read all the contents of the correspondence to get the idea. All right, so let's talk about correspondence. Much of the paperwork or correspondence we get, they don't actually get filed. They either get discarded or recycled, just like advertisements you get in your mailbox. A lot of businesses get a lot of unnecessary correspondence, and many of them actually do get discarded after they were taken action upon. So, for example, if you get a letter from someone asking you to look up something, well, then you look it up. That's an action that you take, and once that is done, you may discard that correspondence. Or sometimes you may need to save or file certain confidential paperworks that also could be shredded or discarded. And then some correspondence do get filed, and when we file them, we can file them in alphabetical way, and then we can also file them in according to the subject or geographical. So these two topics we'll talk about in other video. In this video, we'll focus on alphabetic. So when you have correspondence from an individual, you just index it according to their name. For example, last name will be the first unit, first name, second unit, and so on. And for company and organizations, you will use the naming convention, the indexing convention for company names and organizations. Of course, you have business, not only business, but government as well. In fact, I'm going to just go ahead and edit that right here. All right, so let's move on to the next slide, which shows the basic sequence of filing, alphabetic correspondence filing. First, you will need to inspect. Once it involves with determining whether it is incoming or outgoing, or it is approved to be filed. So let's take a look at an example. So this is a correspondence from where? Here, from Aldine Junior College. So it is incoming Well, because this is not our company. Our company is called Online Printing Services. So any correspondence that does not have our letterhead, it's automatically filed as a incoming. And then we have an approval for filing, which is indicated by this initial right above the receiver. In this case, our Vice President Edward J. Cortez got this correspondence and he put the initial, and basically that tells us this correspondence is ready to be filed. So you just inspect it to see if this is incoming or outgoing, or this is ready to be filed. Once you do that, you will do the indexing, just like how you have done with personal and company names and so on. So you determine what the caption will be and identify the units. So in this example, for example, this is an organization, so we'll just index it as Aldine Junior College. And the way you do that is you can just highlight it or underline it and so on. We'll talk about more detail in a minute. So once you index it, then you do the coding. In this case, we talked about it, how you will code the caption, and then if that needs to be cross-referenced or not. We talked about cross-referencing. Sometimes certain correspondence may require to be filed under 2 or 3 separate folders. And then you'll sort them, and then you store them, place them in the folder. And when you put the new correspondence in the folder, you would put in chronological order. That basically means that you put the newest one in the front of all the files or the correspondence in the folder. You put it in the front so that the older one go to the back. All right, so let's talk about inspecting, step 1. So you can determine whether it is incoming or outgoing correspondence, and also you can inspect, or you need to inspect if this is an internal correspondence as well. So let's look at incoming. So this is an example of incoming correspondence because the letterhead says something other than online printing services. And then it is also, it has an initial of Edward Cortez, which is the recipient of this correspondence. He read it and then he put his initial that basically tells us to file it. And then the next example would be outgoing correspondence. Why? It's very straightforward because this one has our letterhead. And also this has a recipient's name and the title, the job title, and then company name, in this case, Command Careers. And sometimes we have an internal correspondence, and here's an example over here. This is just a memo and just basically a phone message to Ed, which is our vice president, and he read the note, the memo, and he put his initial indicating to file this internal correspondence. So next step is indexing. This is where it gets most complicated. So you need to determine the caption. One basic rule of thumb is using the label the label caption label, well, I guess a label caption, um, the way it is already written, for example, Aldan Junior College, that's the caption on the label of a folder for that college, and you want to make sure that that matches with this when you indicate what will be the units for indexing. So if this is incoming correspondence letterhead or the name of the name in the signature, so let's take a look at this again. You can use either the letterhead, and if there's no letterhead, look under the signature section. They usually, unless they have a letterhead, they should have some kind of a name of the company or business. If it's outgoing, it is not our company name. Okay, this is outgoing. We don't index it with our company name. Instead, we use the recipient's company name or organization. So this could be slightly confusing. For example, this is to Mr. Robert W. Bailey, Career Consultant, Command Careers, 3433 South Main Street, Houston, Texas. So you may wonder, which one is the company name? Well, most cases should be very clear. In this case, is a Command Careers is the company name. When that is not clear, you can also use the folder labels. So if there's an already command, what's the name of a company? Command Careers. So you may find a folder with the label Command Careers, and then that's a good indicator. That's the caption of the correspondence would be. All right. So later on, we will talk about the subject and geographic location in terms of filing, but that's for next section. And sometimes we may have a correspondence cross-reference. So, for example, in a correspondence, you may have more than one or one party or one subject. So, for example, let's say you have somebody from Aldan Junior College talking about not about the college, not about the order, but something else. So they may ask somebody, let's say Paula Cooper, may ask you if you could recommend local printer business. So that means you may need to file this correspondence under Aldan Junior College. And also you can cross-reference it, meaning that you can make a copy of it and then file it under the printer business that you may recommend. And so that would be, in this case, specialty inks. And that's how you may need to cross-reference it. So when you have more than one individual or subject. All right, so captions. Captions, we have already talked about it. So if this is incoming, so use the letterhead or the signature section for the individual. If it's outgoing, it is not our company, but the name of addressee. So if it's a business, we are sending out to a business, it's the name of the business. If we are sending it out to an individual person, then it'll be the name of the person. All right, so let's talk about coding. So again, we have already talked about it, but in terms of working with the document or working with the actual correspondence, you are going to use either highlighter to highlight it. It's okay to just do something on this document, like using the pencils. You can either highlight it with a highlighter, you can underline it with a pencil, or yeah, I guess that's, or you can write it down. You can write this down. So this, in this case, is so obvious, but sometimes if this is for a person, you may write down the name here so that you'll see exactly how to file it. All right. And then if it's something to do cross-reference it, then you write an X next to the caption. So here you may, okay, so you may, if this is needs to be cross-referenced, so you put an X right here so that you know it is cross-referenced. Okay, so, and then once you indexed and put the caption on the correspondence, you can sort it, in alphabetical order according to the captions, so it'll be easier to file. But you don't have to. But when you put this correspondence into filing system, you need to put it in certain orientation. So make sure that the heading or the letterhead is pointing left. So you will turn it sideways, but the letterhead should be on the left side, not the right side. Okay? And you would put the you will arrange the folders and the correspondences in alphabetical order. So obviously if there's something separate entity, you will have a separate folder for ABC Auto, and then right behind it you'll have a folder for, AAA, AAA Auto, and then after that you'll have a folder called ABC Cafe. So within the same folder, you would put the newest, which is most likely the one that you are putting into the folder, in chronological order. So that basically means put the new one in the front of the bunch of correspondence that you may already have. So the newest one will be always at the front, and the oldest one will be at the back. So that's easier. In that way, it's easier for you to find the correspondence. Chances are that you will look for the most recent correspondence than most oldest one. Okay, that's why you want to put the new one in the front. That basically pushes the older ones to the back. And if you have some correspondence that you don't get that often, so every once in a while you get some oddball correspondence, then you don't necessarily want to create a separate folder, because if you do, then you have a bunch of folders that has one, maybe two items in the folder, so that'll take too much space. So for that, those kind of oddball, less frequent, infrequent correspondence, you would put in a folder called miscellaneous. Miscellaneous folders will have will be the last folder in the section. So you could have a miscellaneous folder for A's, and another miscellaneous folders for B, another one for C's, or you can have just one miscellaneous folder for the entire alphabet. So it's up to you. Depends on how many miscellaneous items that you get. Alright, then also when you put the miscellaneous items in the folder, you arrange them in alphabetical order, and then also within the same names, if there's more than one correspondence from one company, perhaps you need to arrange it chronologically. Again, the latest one in the front. Okay, so that's basically it for filing correspondence in alphabetic order.